farewell, Mr. Nice Guy. And I am your host, MNG. And today we're here to talk about moving past your comfort zone. And I know a lot of people are a little afraid to move outside of that box they have been in for so long. And they're comfortable. That's why it's called a comfort zone, because you're comfortable. You know how things work. You know how things are going to go. You know how things are going to plan out. But even when you think about that, what really happens in your comfort zone, that's exciting. I know you probably, if you are a person that watch anime, you're like, well, the next anime is going to come out the following weekend. I'm excited about that. Or Comic-Con is coming and I am excited about that. And that's great. That is phenomenal. That is a lifestyle that you are willing to live. But there is also a lifestyle that is outside of that. That is the next level of excitement, the next level of greatness that you can obtain. And I am one that is here to tell you that moving past your comfort zone is probably going to be one of the most invigorating, scary, frightening feelings that you're ever going to have. It's going to be a rush of all kinds of emotions that is going to bury you into a coma to where you're going to want to run back to your comfort zone. But I am here to tell you, you have to move past it. You have to move past your comfort zone. I read a quote. That quote basically stated, nothing good comes from staying in a house. Because staying in a house was my comfort zone. That's where I relished. That's where I lived. That's where I took everything that I was and everything that I could be, and I kept it inside of the house. That's where I evolved. It was almost like my den. You couldn't pull me out of there. You couldn't do too much of anything to me while I was in there. It was my space. And I loved my space. I had my video games. I loved to cook. I didn't like to be in anybody else's space. Even when I dated a girl, I didn't want to be in her space. I'd rather for her to be in my space, because my space was the comfort zone. And that's where I would bring her, to my comfort zone, because my comfort zone was way more important than being in her space. Even going out and hanging with friends, it was kind of like, I want to be in my comfort zone. I want to be where I feel the most like myself. And that's always within my own box. And as long as I was in that box, I wasn't afraid or scared of anything that was going to occur, because nothing could touch me inside of that box. But I am here to challenge you, to encourage you, to inspire you to move past your comfort zone. Step outside of that area, step outside of that box. Because what's outside of that box is going to be so much better than what's inside the box. Now, let me tell you how I got here. I went on a fantastic journey. And this journey had taken me years to get to this pivotal point. Let's say some of my family members asked me to come out and hang and, drink and, just have a good time. My normal answer was like, nah, I ain't doing that. They would want to go to the cabaret. Nah, I don't want to do that. I'm good. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay in my zone. Plus, at the time I was working 2 jobs. So I really couldn't get off to go and engage into these activities. So I was always at home. 2 jobs in school will really wear you down. And taking care of a child. Because remember, I'm a single father. So I didn't really have a lot of time to go hang out and play. So I always stayed inside my comfort zone. And the times that I did go hang out, my friends literally dragged me out of the house. I mean, dragged. They came with chains, wrapped me up in the chain, and drugged me out the house. Like, hey, we about to go to the club. We about to have a good time. Come on, let's go. And I had fun for the most part. But I still kind of stayed where I was comfortable. I I didn't do too much outside of my usual activity or my usual self. Like if I was in a club, I pretty much walked around. I pretty much was like in the back scene, stuff like that. So in the background, I was pretty much in the background. This is where I was at. So if I was in a club, I was in the background. None of my friends was looking for me, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all gonna do, and I'm just kind of hang out. I'm just kind of fade into the background. That's kind of how I operated. So one year, I decided that I wanted to move past my comfort zone. So remember the saying that I told y'all earlier. Basically, nothing good ever happens by staying in the house. Once I heard that, I moved to be more extroverted because I was very introverted. So I moved to be more extroverted. So then I started the year of yes. Now I think it was like a movie or a TV show that I had seen, and it started talking about like the year of yes, where all year long you say yes. So that's what I started doing. I started to say yes. I said yes to everything. It was crazy how many things I said yes to. Every event that I was asked to come to, I said yes, and I showed up. Had a blast. Every party that I was going to, anniversaries, weddings, the whole 9 yards, I did it. And then I took it a step further. I started inviting like people that I knew to come along with me. Because normally I would go somewhere, I would go solo, and I would just kind of hang out in the background because that's where I hang out at. I hang out in the background. So I would hang out in the background, but then I stopped hanging out in the background and I started being in the forefront. Because in a year of yes, it was not just a year of yes, but it was a year of positivity. It was about a year of growth. So when I went through the year of yes, there was a lot more activities and understanding that I had with myself that I was supposed to step up to. So I couldn't just say yes and go forward. I had to say yes and be present in the event, and people had to see me there. People had to see what I was doing. I went to so many of my cousins' events, birthdays, because they had like 30 kids between all of them. They had so many kids. I was at a birthday party damn near every other month, not including their birthday parties. This was the year of yes. So I made yes the priority, and it put me in places that I would have never seen, events I would have never had went to. Even when I was dating, I was still in the year of yes. So when they asked me to go places, I said yes, especially places that I wasn't even familiar with. And yes became so natural to me because I always said no. So when I started saying yes became so natural to me. I was just yes, and I was there. Yes, I was here. Yes, I was there. Yes, I was here. I seen events, I seen places, I had experiences that I would have never had I said no. Had I had a discretion to say, you know what, I don't know what that is. I don't want to do that. So I just want to stay at home and hang out there. So that was my year of yes. After a few years of saying yes and yes and yes and yes, it just became natural to just go along and go with everyone. So I was with everybody, doing everything. And I felt so invigorated and so lively and so energetic when I was being part of all of those activities. That was my year of yes. And even more years of yes after that. Which leads me to the next, probably one of the most exciting activities I could have done in all my years. Now, one of the things I always wanted to do is go skydiving. A lot of my friends didn't understand why I wanted to go skydiving. I'm like, man, listen, skydiving is awesome. Like, that's something that I want to go do. I want to go and fall out of the air. That's what I want to do. None of my friends wanted to go with me. And the year I was going to go, COVID happened. Funny thing is, 2 years later, I was talking to some friends at work. And I'm like, yeah, for this year for my birthday, I'm going to jump out of a plane. I see the deal on Groupon, and I'm going to jump out of a plane. I am doing it this year. And it was like, oh, I want to do that too. Okay, well, we could make it a whole event. Everybody can come out and we could all jump. So we started to make the plans. We started putting things together. We started putting our monies up. We went through the disclaimer. And let me tell you, the disclaimer is long. Like, you're initiating a lot of stuff. So in the event that you die, you can't sue. That's really what it means 100%. In the event that you die, you can't sue. So we are going through all the paperwork, and I'm making jokes about it. I'm looking like some man. If y'all die, y'all can't sue. I'm just letting y'all know that now. So whatever peace you need to make right now, you should just go ahead and make peace with yourself, because it's a done deal. Now, I had a lot more to lose because my son only has me. He only has me, but I'm out here taking all the risks because I'm like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I go and I drive all the way out to Never Land. Never. I mean, I was in a place so rural that there was no street lights and only dirt roads. I have never driven this far from the city. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm driving out there. It's me and a friend of mine. We driving out there. So we do like the video. Like, oh, you do the video. They do a little interview. You know, you start talking to them. So I'm doing my interview like, I'm just kind of like cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. You know, I've been wanting to do this for 2 years and I'm here. Now, going up on a plane, it was me and one of my other friends. So we on a plane and we're going up. And it's not like being in an airplane because it's a smaller plane. So it's not like being in an airplane. So I'm like, I'm nervous because I'm like, man, I don't know if this strap gonna really hold on because we tethered to the instructor. So we're tethered to the instructor, and I'm like, I hope this thing holds. Like, it feels like it's secure, but my man kept adjusting it. He was adjusting the straps. I'm like, man, I wish my man just go ahead and get this together. Just get it together. I was scared of my mom. I'm like, but I'm here. I'm like, I gotta be fearless now. I gotta be brave. I'm all the way up in the air, so I can't go back down. Cause once you're at that point, you're at the point of no return. It is a whole nother ball game. There is point of no return. We cannot turn around. We are going up. We're going up. So it went up like 10,000 feet. So they said that's about like 2 miles. It's like 10,000 feet is like 2 miles. So we're up in the air. We're up in the air. We going up. We going up. We going up. We get the thumbs up to go. My coworker, my friend, he's like right next to me. They told him, hey, put your head back. You know, you're going to see when you fall, put your head back. You know, we're going to jump out. Before I knew it, like 2 seconds later, he was gone. So my instructor was like, hey, come on, like, scoot back. So we scooting back. And we get into position. So he like, put your head back. I put my head back, but then I push it forward. So then put your head back, you're going to see it. So push my head back, push it forward. Then the damn pilot, now the pilot was an asshole. He tipped the damn plane and we fell out the plane. It was so unexpected. So when I went back and looked at the video, I seen when he tilted the damn plane and we were just in the air, falling. It didn't even look like I was going to hit the ground. I was just falling. It didn't look like the ground was like coming any closer to me. It didn't look like the ground was coming closer, faster. Like, it looked like I was just kind of just in the air at that point. The emotions I was feeling at that point in time was so revitalizing. I felt like I could do anything. I felt like I could do anything. I had so much wind blowing into my face. I felt like I was invincible. I can do anything. Nobody could tell me nothing. And then we eventually pulled the parachute and he let me steer for a little bit and it was fun. Like, when he put the parachute and it snapped back, I thought I was about to fall. I was about to be like, I'm about to die. I was still alive and I was like, man, these harnesses do work. And I was like, man, I wonder how many jumps I would have to do in order to be like a professional jumper where I could jump by myself. It was like 100 jumps you have to do and you got to get a license to be able to jump. But that was moving outside my comfort zone. It's something that I always wanted to do, but I didn't do it because COVID had happened and then there was a few other things, expenses, finances. So a lot of things was kind of getting in the way and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go and do it. And I'm glad that I did it because it opened up the doorway of knowing that, hey, I can do anything I put my mind to. It don't have to be negative. It don't have to be anything. I don't have to have like negative aspect of it because if I approach it in a positive manner, it's going to work in my favor. And I know some people like, well, that's not how it works. You can't always think positive. Positive doesn't always happen. Sometimes negative happens. You're right. It does. But what is the harm in thinking 100% positive and 100% positive happens and no negative happens? What is the harm in that? Because when positive does happen, you got the green light. You will go. You will go. Not everything negative is not going to occur just because it happens to other people. It's not a chance it's going to happen to you. There's a 1 in a million chance that anything ever happens. 1 in a million chance. You're looking at all the other chances that it could happen and it's not going to even happen to you because it's 1 in a million, right? Which after I did that, I took in solo trips, which further pushed me outside my comfort zone. One of the trips I went to Pennsylvania. I did a 8 to 9 hour road trip to Pennsylvania to go visit one of my friends, one of my close homies. I went and visited them by myself. Now let me tell you, when you out there driving on the road, you listen to the same music over and over again, you get tired of listening to that music. And then if you riding in silence, man, it sound like somebody talking to you. It's like you hearing voices at that point in time. It's so quiet. It is so quiet. It's mind-boggling how quiet it is when you're driving on the road with no music. Like, it's different when you're in the city and you're doing it, because it's like a short drive. But when you're driving 8 hours and you're just like listening to nothing, it's like, what? It's very quiet. But one of the trips that I do want to talk about is a trip that I took to Atlanta. Now, I'm going to be honest. I am not the most flightliest person. I don't know if that's a word, but I don't fly a lot. I've only taken 3 flights in my lifetime, but I'm going to end up taking more. Now, when I flew to Atlanta, and I'm going to talk about this trip in its entirety, but I really want to talk about what it took for me to go to Atlanta. I was going through a down period. I had just broke up with a young lady, and I was going through a down period, and I had a friend down there that wanted me to come and visit. So I decided, okay, I'll go visit. They invited me down a few times and said, hey, if you ever come down here, let's hang out, and I'll show you my town. And I'm like, all right, cool. And the opportunity had presented itself because I was unattached. So I didn't have to worry about dragging somebody with me or hurting somebody's feelings, because I wanted to go have a solo trip and kind of do my own thing. So I didn't have nothing to worry about. So I took the trip, and I'll say it's a story for another time, but I had a phenomenal time by myself. And I will give you a teaser. I'm going to give you a teaser. This is the teaser. I turned lemons into lemonade. That was the gist of my trip. I've turned lemon into lemonade. Now, if you know what that little teaser is, if you know anything about it, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm gonna say it one more time. I turned lemons into lemonade. And I'm going to go into the story. I'm going to go into the story, but I'm not going to tell you the story now. But it took a lot for me to have to go down to Atlanta. One, I had to conquer my little fear of getting on planes. I had to conquer that fear and the anxiety of having to go through TSA and be bothered with all of that. So I had to get through all of that. Yes, and I said anxiety because sometimes it's just a hot mess, okay, going through TSA. Like, I don't have time for the searching and all that shit like that. Like, give me an easy pass to get through. I'd rather do that than have to wait in line. Then I had to get past the idea of being on a plane, because I'm in a mindset of I'm not in control of what happens by being on a plane. I'm not in control. If it starts going down, I'm going down with it, and I have no control. There's no parachute. There's no easy way out. I'm out of options. I don't have any options. I'm not even out of options. I don't have no options. It's basically take the ride down and see what happens. That's my mindset. I'd rather be on the road. And some people say, hey, there are more accidents on the road than it is in the air. And I'm like, you're absolutely right about that. But I have more control on the road than I do in the air. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel about it. I'd rather do a road trip, but I can't road trip all over the world. If I could road trip all over the world, that'd be great. But I can't. So unfortunately, I'm stuck with hopping planes. Once I got past those two objectives, it was really about the money. It was really about what I was going to do. It was really about, because this would have been my first time, because me and my friend, we was co-workers. So, and they worked in a whole nother state. So it was really more so about, man, like, when I go down there, like, I'm meeting them for the first time. Like, what is that going to look like? Will it be a setup? I mean, you really don't know. You really don't know. And I was taking a risk. I was taking a risk. I was risking it all going down there. I was risking it all going down there. But I had a blast. And I am here to tell you the story about how much I had a blast, but I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you next time. I definitely want to challenge you and implore you to go on a year of yes. Even if it's just a partial yes, go on a year of yes and see how much fun you have. Now, I'm not saying say yes to everything. I'm not saying yes to meth and doing crack and smoking weed. I'm not saying do all of that. I'm not saying that. But I am saying yes with conscience. Say yes to fun. Say yes to interest. Say yes to evolution. Say yes to involvement. Say yes. It will change the way you look at life if you start saying yes. If you start thinking and operating on positivity. Do all of that and then send me a message. If you have any stories, topics, anything you would like for me to talk about, anything you'd like for me to address, you can always send it over to farewellmrniceguy@gmail.com. Now it's time to say goodbye to Farewell Mr. Nice Guy. I will talk to y'all later. Make sure you tune in for the next episode. Peace.